Alright guys, we're back working on the helix, and I'm just going to show you guys how we're laying the track. So right now he's running that track gauge through the track to get the curve radius and then pinning it. So that part's kind of simple, and it gives you the perfect turn radius, plus it keeps the track engaged while you're going around. Not like some of the stuff I did. So when we get this all stuck together, we'll come back and show you how to solder this. We got a trick for that too.
So we're just trimming the ties as we need to go.
That track gauge is like a lifesaver.
Yeah. And then I'm pinning it close to the joint so it holds it in place as possible. We're going to fine tune it after. So I do cut off a lot of ties, because then I gauge how much of the opposing rail I need to cut off. Just eye it out because you can fine tweak it. Let's see, you got a pretty good joint there. Now we were using Walther's joiners beforehand, but they weren't working too great. We were getting kinks because they're just too short. So we're using regular Atlas joiners that Dave had some left over. We're gonna have to order some more. They're just longer and hold it better. So then what I do is I take the track gauge again, snap it in, and then run it across. Pin close to the end of the one track for now, and start pinning the far track.
Looks simple enough. We'll come back when you're actually soldering this.
Oh, I'm ready to solder in a minute.
Alright, well, we'll come back when that happens.
Okay, so I went back, put the radius guide in, and I'm sliding it through the joint, and I'm going to leave it halfway in the joint, make sure it's between the rails, which it is. Then I'm going to take the pins and pin it from both ends as best I can, just to hold it in place. We're going to use this to align our rails and make sure there's no kinks in the joint. So we have a little bit of spacing between the rails. So what I'm going to do, take a needle nose and gently push the track in so it meets up. Careful not to damage any ties. Center the rail joiners across the joint like so. And as you can see, the track's a little bit staggered. You want that. So if you could zoom in on that, Dave.
Nope.
Nope.
I'll show them after.
So it's staggered a little bit. Then we take flux with the aluminum gauge still in place. Now the good thing about using these metal ones versus the wood ones, they will act as a heat sink as well. So I'm just brushing the flux on the outsides of the rails and the rail joiner. We're going to wait for the soldering iron to warm up, and then we're going to solder it while the template's still in place.
Alright, so we'll come back on there. So that's for the rail joiners, how they fit right inside the track gauge. One did. And one day.
Now we're ready to solder. So I just take the solder wire and the soldering gun outside of the rails, and while I'm heating the rail, I'm moving the solder wire and just letting it melt in. Now we're using enough flux here, so it's gonna flow nicely into the joints. You can hear the solder bubbling.
Pretty sure that's the flux you're listening to.
Yep. Sorry, the flux. Yep. You want a good joint penetration, so if with enough flux, your solder is going to flow in front and behind. That way it's going to be a solid connection. I also like to close off the spaces at the end of the joiners to the rail. Creates a stronger bond. Just run it across the side. You don't want to put too much solder on the inside of the rail. We had to do that in one joint earlier because it had a kink, so I could push it back once it was drying to get the kink out, but then we can go with a Dremel and a buffing wheel to kind of buff down the solder on the inside rail. And that's all you do.
That template held it right into place the whole time.
Yep. And then what I do, because the aluminum template acts as a heat sink, I let it sit for 20-30 seconds after the soldering is done so everything can cool down. We're going to remove the template in a minute, and you're going to see that the joints is going to hold itself. I'm just going to pin the track down where the gauge was. Now we can remove the pins, but in about 30 seconds. We remove the template and you can see the joints holding the 28-degree radius. And that's all it's done. Again, if you're going to use the wood radius templates, obviously it's not going to work because you're going to start burning your radius templates. So you definitely want to pick up these aluminum or stainless steel ones. They work fantastic.
Cool. And that's how you lay track and solder it on a helix.
Nice and smooth.
Say goodnight, Sam.
Good night, Sam.
Well, some of you guys said you got to test with the big boy, so we got it on the track. Just hasn't moved yet. And we got a 6-axle, hopper, well car, auto rack, and we did have a caboose on there at one point, but took it off. Going around tracks with that.
The front wheel came off again somewhere. We got a dip going at the start of the helix here we're going to have to address. We think that's causing the front wheels to go off high speed. Okay, now it's time for the big boy. Speed step 7. Eleven. All wheels still on. Off balance, the front ones jumped on that while they're still on.